Hello and welcome to another episode
of the Lunch Line.
With me today, I've got Dustin Smith. Just kidding. Hello and welcome to Uncaged, the official podcast of BA Tiger Sports. I'm Greg Spencer, and with me today, we've got a couple new guys to Broken Arrow. To my left, we've got Dan Hawk. Dan, how's it going today?
It's been a good day so far.
Awesome. Good to hear. Second podcast that you're recording on the day. And in front of me, I've got Dr. Dustin Smith, who's got a lot of experience in podcasting, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if experience is a word, but I've done a lot of it. So I'm just glad to be here and glad to be able to showcase our kids and our coaches.
Awesome. Well, we are kind of going to have a new crew here on Uncaged this year. Last couple of years has been hosted by me. I'm going to kind of ceremoniously pass the torch here to my man Dan, get this episode started here in a minute. We've got a couple special guests today. We've got Tiger softball coach Randall King, and we've got volleyball coach Ian Bullen. I said that right? It's
That's
Ian,
correct,
not
yep.
Ian. I always have to remind myself. But we're going to kick things off first to get to know you guys a little bit, right? So Dr. Dustin Smith, the Executive Director of Athletics, how'd you get to Broken Arrow, Oklahoma?
And drove. I'm originally from Pawhuska,
Yeah.
so this is relatively close for me. But I spent the last 16 years in Arkansas in athletic administration, 9 of which was at the University of Arkansas Fort Smith, and then the last 7 at Greenwood High School in Greenwood, Arkansas, which was a perennial power in Arkansas sports. Football was really well known, and a BA guy that came from here is Rick Jones, went down there and was the head coach, and all he did was go to 11 finals in 16 years on the football side. So he had moderate success, I guess you could say there, but just kind of a weird conversation, how things transpired, and got open the door, and here we are in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Well, University of Arkansas Fort Smith. Fun fact, I know most people probably don't know this, but formerly Westart Community College, right? Yeah, that's one of the things you learn when you're a son of a junior college basketball coach. So how's BA treating you so far?
It's awesome. Phenomenal people here, just great coaches and great staff that I get to work with every day, not just in athletics, but across our campus and across our district, people that are just really genuine, really real, and really care. And that's not something you find everywhere, but it's pretty special to BA.
Awesome. So Dan over here to my left, also new to Broken Arrow, a new AeroVision producer. As if you've been watching any of our live streams, he's now the
Dan
voice of BA Tiger Sports. You've seen Dan does stuff, a couple of his other segments. How'd you end up in Oklahoma?
Well, I've been all over the place. I mean, my broadcasting journey started in Idaho, where I went to Boise State, and then I went all the way to North Carolina. I've been to Joplin, Missouri, and then now call roots.
Up in my neck of the woods.
Up in your neck of the woods.
Oklahoma.
Yep.
War Dogs.
War Dogs and Golden Horsemen,
Yep.
you name it. I've covered everything and anything, and kind of always embraced whatever has been thrown at me. You know, I've always taken the philosophy that everybody has a story, whether it's someone cleaning, the bleachers after the game to the actual coach that's coaching the game there. But I had the opportunity to transition my career after 15 plus years in the broadcast world on TV to try a different element. And you brought me on here at AeroVision along with Broken Arrow Public Schools. And it's been just an awesome opportunity so far.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and you may have mentioned this and it might have went over my head, but you're a Boise State graduate as well, right?
Yeah, I don't try to brag that too loudly because OU fans will not want me to cheer too loudly on a Fiesta Bowl game that we won. But regardless, I
drove in a blizzard to that game there. Actually, the blizzard was just on the way back, but that was not a fun experience.
Yeah, I try not to cheer too loudly about it, so I just casually throw it in there when they ask me where I went to school.
Yeah. So obviously, some people are going to recognize you from being at Channel 6 the last few years. What do you love about the Tulsa area?
For me, it's just the family type of nature. I mean, whether you're in Broken Arrow, whether you're in Tulsa where I live, I mean, kind of all come together and we kind of cheer. Yes, on Saturdays we cheer for different teams, but we all want to see the success of not just Broken Arrow, but as a whole, all of us have success. It just seems like a lot of people come together to help people. I mean, when we had the severe weather windstorm, in the summertime, neighbors were helping out other neighbors, and that's what I really have attracted and have enjoyed about living in Oklahoma.
Awesome. Well, that's Dan Hawk and Dustin Smith. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk Tiger softball with Coach King.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Your side hustle keeps you moving. We'll help you get where you really want to go. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
Welcome back to Uncaged Podcast. I'm Dan Hawk. We're joined by Randall King, head softball coach, along with athletic director Dustin Smith, alongside Greg Spencer as well. Coach, just tell me how this season's been going for you guys on the diamond so far.
It's been going pretty good. We're 22-3 right now. We lost a tough one last night at Moore, but we've been playing pretty good. Hopefully we can get a little better in certain situations, but been good so far.
You've been here for a while. What is the thing that you can take away from this team that's different than other teams that you have coached?
Oh, I think they love playing the game. Hopefully that boils down to at the end of the year being a success for us, and all of them like to play and they have fun doing it, so hopefully we can continue that.
It's crazy to think, but the season's winding down and, the real competition is going to be heating up with playoff berths and all that kind of stuff. Has your squad kind of embraced that right now to understand what's at stake?
I think they know where we're at. We talked a little bit after the game last night where we're at. Still got a chance to be first in the district. We're one game behind Moore right now. But if we could find a way to tie them up, then we could get the tiebreaker point. So hopefully that can happen, and we'll continue to play well and do our part.
Now, I was on the call a couple nights ago, and you guys had an offensive performance that was one for the ages, it seemed like. But tell me about Kenya Harper. What does she bring to the table?
She's in the middle of the lineup. She's a power hitter for us, has driven in a lot of runs, and she just fits in that 6-hole for us and does a good job.
Now, Dustin, I got to ask you, because you're a baseball guy. I've learned that on the broadcast this past football game, and softball right there. How special is it to see the success right when you jump into your new job, seeing the success of the softball team?
Well, Coach King and I have had this conversation a few times. In Arkansas, they play fast pitch in the spring. And so coming into the fall and having fast pitch is a little different for me, and Arkansas doesn't play slow pitch. But we've had conversations about the girls and just kind of the mindset of what that is. And, softball games are won and lost obviously on the scoreboard, but you got to have people in the circle, and you got to have an arm in the circle that can get out there every night and do what they do in the circle, because it's different than baseball. Baseball, you've got pitch counts, but in softball, you really don't. And so Coach King's got he's been tested with his depth in the circle right now because of a freak injury to his starter, but had an opportunity to obviously develop some growth, and I think that pays off in the long run for him. But for me, jumping into an experience, especially a very successful program like BA is, it's been a fun experience, been a fun opportunity for me to just kind of pick Coach's brain and kind of see how he thinks and what his thought process is in certain situations.
Now, Coach, I got to ask you, the goal is to, win state and get these girls to the next level. I mean, how special is it year in and year out? You see talent continuing to grow and make it to that next level, and hopefully, winning a championship along the way as well.
I think that's a testament to our program. It's built success throughout the years, and I think kids look forward to playing for the program, and hopefully we can continue to build that and continue to have the success in the future that we're having right now.
How has your team changed from the beginning of the season to where we are now?
We're getting stronger at the plate, and our pitchers are doing a pretty good job. Unfortunately, like he said, we've had an injury with our number one pitcher right now, and she didn't get to play last night because of illness. But everybody stepped up and done a good job, done their part, and I think they've got a chance to be really good at the end of the year.
Your team has been able to embrace, playing on the road as well. How crucial is that going to be once we turn to the playoffs?
It's big because the state tournament's in Oklahoma City, depending on where we place in district, possibly on that side of the state too. Hopefully we don't fall down to that third spot, but that's a possibility. And we've been over there. We've played most of the really good teams from over there, so we know what we're up against, and hopefully that's a successful thing for us because we've played those people and we know what they've got, and they pretty much know what we've got, but we play them year in and year out.
Now, I'm going to dive into a little bit more with Dustin Smith later in our Uncaged podcast. But for softball, what would you like to see on the horizon to develop the sport even more, facility-wise, or just, promoting the game of softball at BA?
Well, I don't think people appreciate the level of competitiveness for our softball program and softball in general. And, in the summertime, people really get behind softball because of the Women's College World Series, and we get to host that here in Oklahoma. So I think people in Oklahoma have an appreciation for the sport, but I want to continue to develop that. Our team is really good, and it's really worth watching and supporting kids. Number one, supporting kids, but number two, when you have a great product, it's easy to support that. And so I want to get people more involved and more fans in the seats and more support for these kids to, when we play a big game, when a Southmore's here or a Moore's here or somebody that's really a title contender, to give us a home field advantage. We see it with the Jungle Squad when they go to football or when they go to basketball, but I'd like to see that really more amped up in softball, and maybe Coach doesn't, but that's from my viewpoint where I'd like to see just our student body more involved than what I've seen so far.
Well, you brought up the Women's College World Series and hosting that in Oklahoma, and obviously you've seen the game of softball grow a ton in this state in the last 20-plus years with Patty Gasso and the success that OU has had. You've been here for a while now. You're on year what? How many years is this?
This is actually my 36th year.
36 years. That's as head coach of Broken Arrow softball?
No, I've been the head coach since 2004.
2004. Yes. So you've seen the game change and grow. Talk a little bit about the evolution of softball, both this program and the state of Oklahoma.
Just the opportunities that kids have to go play in college has grown over the years. They get more and more chances, especially playing in the summer. They get a lot of eyes on them. And that's what we're trying to get with our varsity tournament. We had several college coaches there too. And just seeing those college coaches there and giving them the opportunity to play in front of them. Last night we had about 5 there. It's just big for the kids, giving them the opportunity to have a chance to go play at the next level.
When you think about, we talk about Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, the success that Oklahoma State has had recently at the Women's College World Series, but you think about teams like UCO and Southern Nazarene and Oklahoma Christian, these softball programs that are opportunities that Coach mentions that our student athletes are going to have an opportunity to go play. And softball in Oklahoma is really good, not just at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, but if you look at Division II, it's really loaded with very good teams in our state. So the sport of softball is doing really well in Oklahoma. I just want to continue to grow that.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Rogers State won it just 2 years removed. They won the NCAA Division II National Championship. I got to finish it with you, Coach. When you look at softball, did you ever imagine it to be on this big of a stage where it is now when you first got into coaching?
Well, always you hope for that.
Sure.
And but when we first got into coaching, that's back when we wore T-shirts and black shorts for game uniforms.
Yeah.
And that's grown over the years with the success of all the programs. And just building the program has given us a chance to go out there and play at a top elite level, and also the school giving us a chance to have the facilities that we have is unbelievable. We have the best facilities in the state, bar none, and uniforms, equipment, everything we have is
Speaking of
top-notch.
I love your guys' gray jerseys this year.
Like
That's a good look.
pinstripe.
Yeah, it's a good pinstripe like that.
The girls had to dig on me a little bit for me to do that because I'm not a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
So
It's a good looking jersey.
Yeah, it's not bad. Coach, I appreciate you stopping by on Uncaged. We'll have more with Coach down the line, so be sure to check our Uncaged podcast.
thanks for having me.
Racing towards the end of the month? Ask about our early pay options. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
For families who like to build their wealth while staying liquid, we have flexible rate CDs to keep your funds working hard, even when you're not. First National Bank of Broken Arrow. The right balance.
Welcome back to the Uncaged podcast. Athletic Director Dustin Smith, Greg Spencer, now joining us. Volleyball head coach Ian Bolin. Coach, fresh off a win with Muskogee, how'd the girls play last night to first start out with?
Well, they played well. We had a good plan, and we came out and we got after it, and they hit it at us a little bit, so we had to fight back, but it was good. It was good competition early on in the first couple of sets. They were fairly tight, and you can learn a lot about your team in those good tight matches, and we put it all together and took care of business.
Now, this Frontier Conference, it's no cakewalk, and the season's winding down. How are the girls responding to all this with playoffs right around the corner?
We've done really well in conference play so far, and I think we've only had the one loss early in the season and as far as conference matches go. But other than that, we've taken care of business just about every night that we've gone out there, and we've had 2 tournaments, and they've progressed in those. We've gotten better both times, so we're excited. We have a tournament this weekend at Owasso. It's going to be very competitive, and we're hoping to take one more big step forward. Looking good in the rankings, and the top 8 teams are going to get to host regional, and we're ranked 5th right now, so we hope to hold that or improve on that status a little bit and push to the end.
For your team, mixture of veterans, underclassmen, it's kind of a mixed bag this year, but just how are they all responding together to get this thing in the right direction?
I feel like the similar vision is coming together, and they're starting to play hard, and they've got direction, and we coach them up every chance we get, but my gosh, they coach each other up as well, and that's what's great about having a good group of seniors that some of them have been there, some of them really haven't been there all that much, and that's we've got just a great mix, and the underclassmen that are in there that are contributing are so talented, and we're excited to watch them progress as we go.
Speaking of seniors that haven't been there until this year, I'm going to put you on the spot only because she's here producing the podcast right now. But Jasmine Bell, a very integral part of AeroVision last couple of years, has found a spot on the varsity team this year. Talk a little bit about what Jasmine brings to the team.
Man, we love the energy that she brings, and that's if you've talked to her for 5 minutes, you know exactly what I'm discussing. She's her energy on the court is infectious. She makes big plays, and she fires everyone up, and we're excited to have her, and we're excited for her to make more of those big plays. I mean, she's come on strong and started for us the last couple of weeks, and she's doing a fabulous job.
Awesome.
Now that this can go for the both of you, this new facility that's being built, I know both of you are, looking at the clock. Is it finished? Is it finished? Just break it all down, what it's going to mean when you guys can finally play a game in there as well as practice in that new facility.
It's going to be, one of the premier volleyball facilities in all of the state. I mean, it's going to rival anything that any high school team gets to play in. So, we're excited about it. We want to make sure we put a good product on the court night in and night out. And, we expect to, go into that new facility and compete for championships. I mean, that's what our program is geared to do. And we're fired up to have a chance to get into a beautiful place like that.
And Coach, you and I talked this summer a little bit, and we can talk volleyball for days, talking about whether it's a 6-1 or 5-2. We can get into all that stuff. But what I want to talk about, and we talked about even at our tournament that we hosted here, is how important is serve receive at this level, especially because we played Edmond Memorial, defending state champions, and and we had an advantage because serve receive wasn't really good on that side of the ball or that side of the net for them. So talk about how big serve receive is.
For us, it means an awful lot. We're not the biggest team in the state. Our hitters are very efficient, but in order for us to get into our offense and really make things click, we've got to have a good first touch, and that pass off the serve gets the things going in the right direction and sets the tone. And we've got some pretty good players back there that are digging those tough serves up, and that's been one of our high water marks this year, is that night in and night out, that's been really, really consistent for us. And our libero is a senior this year, Avery Jones, and she's been there, and she's been a 4-year starter for us, and my gosh, she's so good at that. And those other teams ought to know better than to serve it to her, but she seems to be on the receiving end of an awful lot of those. And she's got good company back there. The hitters that drop back and serve receive, they do a fine job as well. And it's working out real well for us. It's one of the stronger parts of our game this year.
Well, the outside hitters or the middle blockers, they'll get the credit sometimes. Sometimes you don't get that. It's like offensive linemen in football. You don't notice they're there until they're not. And when you don't have back line or back row people that can dig the ball and can set up your offense, it's really critical to have those individuals, and to have a 4-year starter is pretty important.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're blessed in that department.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you stopping by on the Uncaged podcast and give us an update on how volleyball is going.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Life happens in a hurry. Our money experts will help you keep up. TTCU Federal Credit Union. Life is better in balance.
At Ascension St. John, you'll find advanced heart care, brain and spine care, and personalized cancer care. And we excel just as much in the things that can't be measured. Listening more closely, caring more compassionately.
Welcome back to the Uncaged podcast. I'm Dan Hawk, alongside me, Dustin Smith and Greg Spencer. Dustin, we kind of learned a little bit about you at the beginning of the podcast today. What do you want to see this athletic staff grow in the first year here? Like, what is your goal?
Well, I've challenged them to be BA. And in our coaches in service, we went through what BA means, and that's be accountable, be available, be authentic, be ascending, don't be descending. And so I've challenged them with a multitude of things, like 15 points of being BA, and what I think that is, because our comparison is not everybody else, it's ourselves, and we set our own standard. And so I want them to quit looking at everybody else. I want them to look at ourselves, and we set the bar, whatever that bar is. And then the final thing I told them was to be great, and that's give relentless effort all the time. And I don't want them to, if they're relentless in the classroom, they're relentless in practice, they're relentless in the games, and they're going to see great results. But I want them to be great, and so I challenged them with being BA and being great.
For your vision for this athletic department, when you see this new facility being grown, we see what it's going to host as far as facility-wise, but what else would you like to see in that new building? And
I think it's going to be the only place on campus where we can get everybody in and everybody seated. I think that eventually when we get to that point, and the sky's really the limit. You don't build a facility like this just to keep it for us. We want to show that thing off, obviously, and we want to make sure that our student athletes have the experience that's the best in the country, not just the best in Oklahoma, but the best in the country, and that kind of facility will be able to showcase that.
Being a student athlete, being an administrator in this new era of transfer portal, NIL, it's been trickled down from the college level all the way down here. How do you evaluate all that? How do you approach it, communicating with your coaches as well as your student athletes?
Well, it's ever changing. So sometimes it's like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. It's just impossible to do. And so you try to navigate, and whatever situation comes up, you try to just handle that situation. We haven't seen a great influx of the NIL at the high school level yet, but that's going to come.
It's coming,
at some point. And if they can't get it at the public school level, then you'll see them really filter down to IMGs and those academies that they can really do that kind of stuff. And but we're still trying to wrap our arms around it here at Broken Arrow, but also in the state of Oklahoma and nationally. There's really no blanket approach that says this is the right way to do it, because each state is set up differently. So we're trying to figure that out. Transfer portal is what transfer portal is at the college level, and I just go back to the statement that when I keep my word, or when I give you my word, I'm going to keep it. And I think that's the commitment that kids are not having these days. You can just, hey, it's not going great here, I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'm going to try to do that somewhere else. And that's a reality of the sports world that we're in. We'd be dumb to bury our head in the sand and say that's not going to happen, but it's happening. And so how to navigate that, we're still trying to figure out that process as well.
When you look at the facility that's being built, I know that you have plans for the future. If not, that's not how athletics works anymore. So what are some dreams or aspirations that you would have for the athletic department, building-wise, or any other ideas that you kind of kept to your vest?
Well, Coach King talked about it. Our facilities are on par with everybody else in the country. There are very few people, at least at our level, that have an indoor facility like we have, that we get to use for a multitude of sports. Our weight room that we just added on the second level of the indoor facility is top notch, and it's another opportunity for kids to be able to lift and be all in one location and still take advantage of our sports and strength conditioning staff. But obviously, I want to continue to push the envelope. I don't want to just be status. I mean, if status quo, I want to keep growing. If you're not moving forward, then you're regressing, and I don't want to do that. I want to continue to move forward. And there's state tournaments. There's opportunities like our band brings in DCI and that big event that happens. I mean, we want to showcase what we have, and that's my vision for what we have at Broken Arrow. I want to showcase that not just to the state but to the world.
Well, and I know we got to be careful about specifics. You don't want to give any ideas that there's going to be projects that aren't,
Right.
but there are 2 potential projects that are attached to the upcoming bond issue, which people can vote on November 14th. One of those is improvements to the tennis facility, which are probably, of all of our sports, maybe is the sport that needs a new facility the most. The other one goes back to the 2014 bond issue, which is the swim facility that people have been talking about for years. And the issue or the difference in this on this voting for that is to decide the location of it, right? So that's still something that is in the plans. Is there anything you want to talk about the aquatic center or swim facility?
Yeah, our swim team needs a home that's theirs. Right now we share it with Boys and Girls Club, and it's been a great facility for us, but our swim team deserves to have their own spot. And that's why this is big for them to be able to have a true home. Tennis has a home, but we want to improve what tennis has as well. And so need to add some more courts and need to have a facility for them to dress and change in that's theirs and not shared with another sport. So those are a couple of improvement areas, but the natatorium is a big thing for our swim program, and obviously the tennis courts. There's a reason why we're putting that in the bond, just because we want to make sure that those kids are taken care of as well.
Well, Dustin, thank you so much for stopping by, giving us an update on what's going on with Tiger Athletics. Be sure to check us out on ArrowVision and all BA Tiger Sports as well.